Hello, and welcome to the Joe DeLisi Financial Advisor Podcast. Today's podcast is about 5 tips for all of us as our parents age. And I'm going to hopefully not apologize too much ahead of time. I've got that little sniffly thing that I think everybody's got here in early April of 2024. So hopefully I don't sniff or cough in your ear too much. So, as I've navigated the lives of my clients over the years, a new issue has really begun to creep in more and more. And it's not new to the industry or anybody really, but it's mostly new to me in my business. And it's really been accelerating over the past, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. The issue is aging, aging of my parents' clients, my clients' parents, sorry. Not just my clients really, but my own as well. And I've seen some really, really good ideas that people came up with, and a few I've come up with on my own. And I thought it'd be good to break down some of these ideas here in really no particular order. So number one, really, this is probably the most important. Make sure you discuss a financial power of attorney with your parents. This isn't really to exclude any kind of other healthcare POAs or any other estate documents. Those are obviously critical, but only a few of my clients have actually seen their parents' power of attorney or help their parents establish a power of attorney. And why is it so important? Well, as sad as it is to say, scams are getting more prevalent and way more tricky, especially to a generation who's not as nimble in dealing with online interactions, or worse, in dealing with AI, calling them and using a voice that sounds a lot like a spouse, a friend, or even a child. Anyone can fall for these scams. I had a late 30s stay-at-home mom unreachable for an entire day as she was stuck on the phone with the quote-unquote IRS, who demanded she pay back taxes that she didn't owe in the form of gift cards. Now that sounds crazy, right? I mean, it sounds like, well, who would fall for that? But it works sometimes, and it works even on the young. And so we need to guard against these things. In fact, as I'm thinking of AI, you should think about with your spouse to have some kind of a word, something that only you guys would know. So if somebody calls you, sounds just like your husband, just like your wife, just like your child, and they need money, ask them for the word, because this AI software is getting scary good. I had another client whose parent was scammed over the phone into sending money from a bank account on a web sharing platform to a scammer. They actually had them send it in the form of cryptocurrency, which is insane because I can't even imagine my mom figuring out how to do that, right? But it happened to this client. And then she requested more money. My client's mom requested more money from her investment account to be sent to her account to cover more bills because she was drained. And her son found out and was only able to instruct us to not send any more cash to her until he was sure she was safe. But we could only do that. We could only comply to his request due to his foresight of not only having that financial power of attorney, but having it filed on her investment account. So it stopped all of that dead in the tracks, which was great. Number two, property and casualty liability limits should be triple checked. As we age, we just react slower. It's a fact. It's just a fact of the human body. And as parents may slow down a little in reaction while driving, they may not know exactly when they're no longer really a quote-unquote safe driver. Of course, the number one issue here is to make sure mom or dad is safe, but what if you don't live near them? The unsafe driving could occur, and it may take years before you figure it out. This isn't to say every aging parent will be a bad driver, but at the very least, you need to triple check their liability coverages in the event of an at-fault accident. If that occurs, a bad event could turn worse if your parent loses all or some of their nest egg due to one bad day at the wheel. So triple check those coverages. Number three, consider moving your parent closer to you. It's hard. It's hard watching parents age. It's even harder when it's from a distance. So one thing I'm doing, not like this is brain surgery, but I did figure this one out on my own. Jamie and I are purchasing a home near us, a smaller home, so that grandma can begin spending much more time with her grandkids. So rather than coming in for like 1 week at a time, maybe she'd want to stay for a month or more. It's a way of her, allowing her to experience the area, be around her grandkids, and while at the same time, and this is really sort of where my mind went, she'll be able to slowly build up some relationships in this area. And also, critically important, develop contacts with doctors, because the doctors, I've learned, is what really anchors parents to a locale. So be proactive with this. It doesn't need to be a huge home. You're not moving her out of her life. It's just a place for her to go and have, or him, if it's your dad, a place for them to go and get away, from the craziness. We have 6 kids, so our house gets loud. So what if she could just go to her home a street away. Maybe take a kid or night for a sleepover, something like that. Again, just to kind of establish a life here so that if she does need to move here full time, it's not such a huge change. Number 4, consider purchasing a family home with your siblings, maybe near mom and dad, where the kids and grandkids can go and spend extended time with them. So it's like the reverse of number 3. Now, I've noticed a trend of my clients' parents moving from colder cities to warmth earlier than in the past. It's like not rocket science that people would rather spend time in Florida instead of Michigan in the winter. And I'm seeing this being done way earlier, much earlier. So for instance, the parents might move in the early 60s rather than the late 70s. And if this is occurring, perhaps you can talk with your siblings and make an investment of a vacation home, a family vacation home near your parents, so that you can all enjoy it over a few decades. Again, spending much more time around mom and dad. Number 5, this one's quick and easy. Communicate. Again, brain surgery, probably not, but this is a big problem. You got to communicate with your siblings ahead of time. So like what we're thinking of, what we're looking at is who has more travel time and flexibility? Who may have more financial flexibility? Does anyone have a certain skill set? For example, like dealing with medications or dealing with doctors, or, maybe they've got some kind of healthcare background. Divide up the chores of how to help your parents. I've seen simple medication confusion cause serious health problems for people. Maybe one of the siblings can help with like that online database, so mom or dad has what we all have. We've got that online access to medical records. Well, maybe one of your siblings or you can have access to that with the with the blessing of mom and dad, so you can check on these medications and make sure that things are okay. Don't assume the doctors are on top of everything because, again, being proactive and involving the siblings early and dividing up those tasks, you can get ahead of maybe something that a doctor missed. Not because they're bad, it's just, look, these doctors are overworked. I mean, from an advisor who deals a lot with people in the medical community, physicians, surgeons, etc., they're doing their best, but they got a lot. They got a lot to deal with. So let's be proactive in handling that. So really, if there's one overarching theme here, not to be surprised, it's about being proactive rather than just reactive. And, look, the entire premise of financial planning is to be proactive. It just stands to reason that with dealing with an aging parent, proactivity, that should win the day. We're not looking for control. We're not looking for changing their lives, and we're not looking for sticking our nose in where it's not wanted. But offer, come up with some strategic ideas and some out-of-the-box ideas. Again, I love the idea of either having a smaller home where mom and dad can be near you for a month at a time, or vice versa, buying a vacation home and being near them, so you can kind of grow with them and see how the aging process is taking place. So I wish that all of our parents grow old with grace and perfect health, but it's just not what we're seeing. We see sort of a marginal decade of decline is what is. I'm stealing that from Dr. Peter Attia, who wrote a couple good books on this, where medical technology has progressed, where obviously we're living longer, but the last decade can be very rough. Lots of medications and things of that nature. So let's just stay ahead of that. So again, in no particular order, although I would say this first one's most important: powers of attorney, financial and otherwise, but specifically financial powers of attorney. Property and casualty limits should be triple checked, increased. Maybe move the parent closer to you, maybe move closer to the parent on vacation homes, and then communication with siblings. That's it for today's podcast. Real quick and easy, but I wanted to put that out there because it's just become much more of a theme, just, not only in my clients' lives, but my own. Hopefully it triggered some thoughts. If, this has been helpful, share it, please get the word out there. You can also, if you're listening for the first time, you can go into the show notes and you'll find a link to our both to our webpage and also to a little quiz you can take that will give you instant feedback as to where you are. Kind of a red, green, yellow. You're doing this well. There's an alert here. And you can just use that to fix it on your own, or you can also schedule some time to speak with us and see if we might be of a service to you. Now, we know what time it is. It's at the end of every podcast, everyone's favorite. I've heard from some of my clients, they're like so excited to see if I can get through the compliance without stumbling. I cannot, but I will try. Here we go. Compliance. Registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, Pass, OSJ 5280 Carroll Canyon Road, Suite 300, San Diego, California 92121, 619-684-6400. Securities products and advisory services offered through Pass, member FINRA SIPC, financial representative, the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Pass is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Pass or Guardian. Insurance products offered through Westpac Wealth Partners and Insurance Services, LLC, a DBA of Westpac Wealth Partners, LLC. California Insurance License Number OD34103. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable, please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Pass, Guardian, or Westpac Wealth, and opinions stated are their own. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. All investments and investment strategies contain risk and may lose value. This material is intended for general use. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities LLC and your financial representatives are not undertaking to provide investment advice or make a recommendation for a specific individual or situation, or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. 2024-171122 expires 03-2026.